All right, so let's talk about Evolution, Rhiannon.
Let's do this.
I gotta say, it had a lot of hate going towards it, but it was still great despite all that.
I don't think it was hate. I think it was more concern, just purely because the build was maybe 2 weeks after that. They kind of announced it as like a last minute thing. And I felt like, apart from maybe the IC title match, there was no build whatsoever towards it. And they just kind of threw matches in kind of anywhere. And it turned out pretty great. The amount of times I've seen that's been WWE's best PLE this year, like all over social media, like I can't disagree. It was phenomenal.
Absolutely, it was. It was just amazing.
It, honestly, I guess plans were kind of derailed in terms of Liv getting injured, which probably didn't really help the situation. But I actually really enjoyed the match for the tag titles. I enjoyed, Jade and Naomi. I thought the way the card was set out was really good as well. They kind of had the kind of high octane, impact matches, and then they had a kind of match to kind of calm everybody down, and then kind of lead into the kind of big matches, and then another kind of match to kind of calm everybody down. It was actually kind of well planned, well placed, well thought out, I thought, as well, which I think helped.
Yeah, just great overall. Like, from start to finish, everything just kept getting progressively better.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think the placement, having the IC title open and then the main event of Io and Rhea to end, that was, I thought they were the two matches to open and close the show. I mean, you could probably interchange both of those matches, to be honest. Obviously, we'll come on to the kind of finish of the women's world title match, I suppose. But I think, again, those two matches being in the place where they were was the correct decision at the end up. Another stellar match from Becky and Bailey and Lyra. And yeah, just I thought the placement of the card was really good.
Yeah, just a good hot opener overall, and just one of those matches that was just perfect to start things off.
For sure. I really like the chemistry all three of them have together. Um, it's kind of interesting going forward, especially now they've got Bailey and Lyra in for the tag titles, which I don't quite understand this decision. I thought the finish was pretty great. The way that you know, Lyra's been taken out by Bailey and Becky kind of steals in with a pretty ingenious pin, I thought. The match overall was great, competitive, some really good wrestling in there. I feel like everybody got their moment. Everybody kind of wrestled everybody. You had Lyra and Becky at start, and then it was Bailey and Becky, and then Lyra and Bailey at end, and you really genuinely didn't know who was going to win because there was so much momentum for each wrestler individually during the match. Um, Again, I think the build to this was probably the best of all the matches on the card, which probably sold the hype. With it kind of going back to WrestleMania and Bailey taking Becky out, and then Lyra costing Bailey. It was just really good storytelling overall for me.
Yeah, you just got the best of everybody in that match. And the Becky and Lyra thing, it just continues to get better and better because Becky's doing her best to get Lyra over and make her look like a big star.
I would agree with that. People can Becky Hogan all they like. I think that's disingenuous. I don't think that's the case at all. I think that it was a good match, and I think Becky's really doing well to put not just Lyra over, but the IC title over as well. To have Becky hold that title just to give it a bit more prominence and kind of go, no, this is our main focal point, and people want to have this title. For all the reigns Becky's had, and the women's world titles, and you know the WWE women's titles and things like that, to have her hold it, it just shows the value that the company have on that belt. And I think it's done a really good job of putting Lyra over. I feel like this is just elevated Lyra more so than than before.
I would absolutely agree with that because Lyra, with her first reign with the title, she was really good with it, honestly. It was just not really getting time or really getting the PLE matches.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was at the Raw in Glasgow and they had Lyra versus Raquel for the IC title on a random Raw in the middle of March, which I
Oh,
thought was
so
odd.
bad.
It was a great match, and why it was well thought out, and I thought the way they kind of played the kind of David versus Goliath thing worked really well. Um, and let's be honest, Lyra did defend the title, I think, before she lost to Becky. In the 6 months reign, she had 6 title defences, which so that equates to 1 title defence a month, which I think is really good. Um, because it shows that, they were eager to kind of have it prominent, but I think just having it on Becky and having Bailey in there really shows the prominence of the title right now. And I'm actually really excited to see what happens at SummerSlam with just the the Becky versus Lyra match. And I do wonder if Bailey will come into play with that.
I think she probably will have an impact on it in some way, because you see the tension with Bailey and Lyra already.
Yeah, and I think, maybe the outcome of the tag title match will also kind of impact what happens after that. I would really like to see a heel Bailey with a heel Becky as a tag team and have them go after tag titles. I think that could be really, really interesting.
Hmm. That'd be interesting there. You've got Charlotte and Alexa, the baby faces, if they come out of SummerSlam with the belts against Becky and Bailey, the heels. I'm gonna let you cook there. That's pretty good.
Could you imagine a heel Becky and a heel Bailey against a face Charlotte and a face Alexa? Who would have thought that would have ever have been a thing? Let's be
That's
honest.
just crazy.
Honestly, it's up there with heel face Orton versus heel Cena for me. That's never thought something you thought you would see, and yet that happened.
Sure did.
So I started watching it really, really young. I started watching the Attitude Era. I would spend my weekends at my grandparents'. So every Saturday night, SmackDown would be on, and the TV upstairs. Me and my older sister Holly would watch every Saturday without fail. Um, didn't get the PLEs quite yet, but I kind of fell away from it for a bit, and then started coming back into it around 2012, 2013. And then that's me being kind of a mainstay ever since then.
All right, very good. Second question. What is your favorite event that you've either been to or watched live?
Ah, see, I was very lucky. I was at Clash at the Castle in Scotland, and as as much as Drew was done dirty, I did enjoy actually being at the first PLE in Scotland. Um, but I feel like favourite moment would be the SummerSlam. I believe it's 2018 where Becky's heel turn happened after the triple threat with with Charlotte and Carmella. Um, I was buzzing. I think the crowd was buzzing. You could see it, and this kind of cemented Becky. She was probably one of the most over people in the roster after that happened. Um, because let's be honest, most of the audience totally agreed with what Becky was saying. Um, so they kind of had to turn the character about into more anti-hero, but I think that kind of finally cemented Becky, and people in the company were actually seeing Becky's worth for the first time. So I think those two are my choices.
Yeah, that is a really impactful moment in a lot of ways.
For sure, for sure. Not just for Becky, but for the company as a whole. Because that obviously eventually led up to the first women's WrestleMania main event, and you kind of wonder, without the kind of fan support, did that main event happen? I'm not sure.
Um, I don't know. That's a very good question. All right, third one. Don't hate me for this one. Is it football or is it soccer?
It's football. You play hand egg. I'm sick of telling you this. It's football. It will always be football. It'll never be anything else but football. Owen, why do you do this to yourself?
Hey, look, I was willing to do it because I thought it'd just be a funny thing to ask there.
If you don't know the context of this, is that as a Scottish person, we never call football soccer. It's like an egregious sin over here, right? Because football is a way of life. And obviously, I know in the US and other places, they don't call football football, you call it soccer, which makes me sick to even say. So I like to noise own up and call it hand egg because the ball's shaped like an egg and you generally use your hands. So poor Owen gets at the neck every time the NFL season starts.
Yeah, pretty much. I swear,
Okay.
if we ever get merch, that'll be the first t-shirt we do. It would say on the front, Owen says it's football. Rhiannon says it's hand egg.
Yep. I would love that. That's a great t-shirt. That's a great
I
t-shirt.
thought you might like that.
I'd wear that.
And then next match, it was JC versus Jordan Grace, right? For the NXT Women's Championship.
Yes. I enjoyed the match. I
Oh,
was actually shocked at how quick Blake Renault had the heel turn. I didn't think they would have a come out with Jordan in the course of the match. I thought they would have had a kind of more of a build to it. Um, but I think this also shows that JC isn't just a transitional champion. I thought she had a really, really good showing in this match. I thought both of them did. I thought it was a good match overall. Um, as I said, it was a kind of nice settler after the kind of hype of the women's IC title match. But no, overall, it was a really good match. And I think that JC really cemented herself as a champion.
I would definitely agree with that because it's like I was thinking when Mariah comes in, it's like, oh boy, now she's gonna take the title from JC, and it's like, no, no, JC just won the title. I want to see this go for a while.
No, I would agree with that. I would agree. I think see people saying it's a transitional champion. I think having JC win that was interesting, and it, the longevity. And does that mean that Blake or Mariah, whatever you want to call her, is going to go after that, and what the implications with Jordan Grace is, and how that storyline shapes up? So I think that makes it more interesting than just having Jordan win it flat out.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And now you've got kind of this mini feud between Jordan and Mariah. And it's like you can take Mariah May out of AEW, but you can't take the woman from hell out of Mariah May.
No, absolutely not. And I really enjoyed the segment in NXT, which was obviously, a kind of cast off of this that Jordan's been banned from the building and she's trying to sneak in and attack Mariah. I think that just adds more to it. Um, and I think it'll be really interesting. Spoiler warning for everybody if they doesn't know what happens now that JC's also Knockouts champion. Where that goes, does that mean that she's got two titles to defend? Does she defend one against Mariah slash Blake and then one against Jordan? Is it like a winner take all? I really want to see the implications of her having two titles and what that does now.
Hmm. Yeah, that will be interesting to see going forward because I could see JC making a lot more appearances in Impact, and possibly we see Fatal Influence just wrecking havoc on that show too.
Fatal Impact versus Inspiration. I want to see that so bad. I think that'd be great.
That would be. Yeah, overall, I'd say that was a really good match because it's just a good match of technical skill versus power and strength, where you got JC and Jordan. And then, of course, you have the heel turn there at the end, which just adds to it and makes people go, wait, what? We knew that at some point she was going to turn on Jordan. The signs were obviously there.
Yeah, for sure. Again, I didn't think it would have been that quick. Also Michael Cole trying to make out that it wasn't, it was accidental at first. I'm like, no, Michael, come on, man, she meant it. She literally waited until Jordan was at the ropes. I love Cole, but that was a massive flub, along with him calling poor Candice LeRae Candice Michelle so many times during that battle royal.
That
Oh,
was
poor
a good one.
Candice.
All right, then we had the tag title match.
I really enjoyed this match. I really enjoyed it. Solruka and Zarya for me were stars of the show. It's always great to have the Kabuki Warriors, and I really like this kind of odd couple tag, Charlotte and Alexa. The pop for Charlotte when she got tagged in was phenomenal. Like, I don't know
Amazing.
who paired them together, but that they need a raise because that was an incredible transition. Honestly, I've never seen Charlotte so over in my life.
Yeah, like a few months ago, she's just getting booed out of every single arena, and now she teams with Alexa, and everybody loves her again.
It worked. the spot with Zarya and the spear, and she pulls Alexa out the way. That was what an incredible shot. And it's just that moment where Alexa's realising they're both kind of lying on the canvas in the corner, and Alexa's looking as if what's just happening. Charlotte's just got like a death grip on her, and she's just like so shocked that Charlotte's just yanked her out the way. It was incredible. What a spot! I thought the match overall was really good. Um, I think you could see that Raquel was taking Kevin Nash's advice in that match, in terms of being a kind of powerhouse and a big kind of, like the kind of Goliath type wrestler. I think everybody got a moment to shine. And as I said, I think Solrook and Zarya, I'm so excited to see what they're going to do because I think that's a great tag team.
I agree, because you just got the best of everybody there. Best of the Kabuki Warriors, best of Charlotte and Alexa, still kind of developing their tag chemistry. Sorika and Zarya, and just all in all, just a great match in terms of tag team wrestling.
For sure. Also, shout out the fact that they've got Asuka's original theme back. I'm so happy. I love that theme so much. So when she came back and I heard that, I was delighted. So I just want to say that is one of the best moments of the night is hearing I Am the Future because I really did not enjoy her new theme and I wish to bring Charlotte's old one back as well. I don't like that. I really don't like it.
I like that other theme though, because the guitar is better. It just sounds a lot better, in my opinion.
That's
Plus, you add the lyrics to it with "You can't hide."
it's very true. I do like when it says bow down to the Queen. I like that. That's pretty good. But yeah.
That is good.
That is very good. But no, again, solid match. Um, I don't think there was necessarily a bad match on the card, to be honest. Maybe a slow match. I think we'll obviously discuss with in terms of Tiffany versus Trish, but I don't think any match necessarily was bad.
No, I agree with that. Like, there really wasn't a match that I rolled my eyes at and was like, okay, yeah, this was just a match. But it's like, no, everything, even Jade versus Naomi was really good in some
Yeah,
spots.
yes, I would agree with that. Apparently Molly Holly was a producer for that match, which I think maybe helped that because we all know good how Molly Holly was when she was wrestling with the company, so that's pretty good to see.
That is. Okay, so that next match was Tiffany versus Trish Stratus. Who would have ever thought this would have happened? Like, you see Trish Stratus return to the Rumble in 2018, the first Women's Rumble. Here she is, and she's wrestling in the 2020s. It's just crazy.
It's one of those odd ones. I thought maybe after the steel cage match with Becky, that would have been her. Like, no, I'm done, I'm done. And then she had a tag match with Tiffany, which I really enjoyed. And then I really liked the use of having Trish because there was that element of them teaming before. So it kind of adds a layer to the storyline with having Trish wrestle for the title. I think it's, you know, giving Trish her flowers and it gives her a chance to actually wrestle like she originally obviously kind of wanted to do an original run. And full credit to Trish, she, despite the kind of the ring rust and whatever, she still performs really well. I thought it was a good match, slow in places maybe, but it did what it needed to do. It was a strong match. It was a good showing for Tiffany as well. And yeah, just a really good match. And I'd again give Trisha flowers. I thought the physicality of the match she has been doing is a level up from what she was, and credit to her for even trying it in the first place. I think she's doing exceptionally well.
Yeah, like, I think Trish Stratus, I know we have Timeless Tony Storm, but Trish Stratus, she's kind of timeless at this point, just in terms of how she's still wrestling, and my God, man, that's just crazy.
I would agree with that. Again, the physicality levels from when she started, when she was wrestling, and you hear the stories of Fit Finlay trying to kind of get them to learn to wrestle properly, and they were telling, no, you're never going to do that. Fast forward to 2025, and she's putting on stellar matches for a women's championship. That's kind of mind blowing.
Yep, absolutely. And just kind of cool that Tiffany gets that rub again from a legend. Like when she faced Charlotte at Mania, it's this person really believes in you and what you're doing to want to work with you on the biggest stage. And that's
Oh,
clearly what Trish did there with Tiffany.
Oh, for sure. And also shout out Trish's gear. I loved that wee homage to the original women's title that she had on her ring gear. I thought that was really cool as well. But no, I would agree that is a massive rub. You know, she's went over Charlotte Mania, which is a big deal in and of itself, and then to get a win over a legend like Trish Stratus kind of cements the belief I think the company has in Tiffany, and rightfully so. I think she's been stellar since she's came up to the main roster.
Yeah, she really has been. I mean, other than getting stuck with Nia Jax 3 times.
Oh, I enjoyed the kind of tag team and the kind of will she won't she cash in element. That was fun. But
Yes, those
after
were
that,
cool moments.
the separation level should have been there. Maybe you could have traded Nia to Raw just to have that level of separation. I think that's maybe what was needed. Let's see.
Yeah, and it's kind of like you said with the giant versus the one thing there that you said earlier with Jordan and JC. It kind of worked a little well with Trish and Nia, or Tiffany and Nia.
Yes, I would agree with that. But working 3 times is something that just didn't need to happen. I think once Tiffany kind of won the rubber match, she should have left it where it was. I don't think there was a need for a repeat, which is actually why I was glad they gave the match to Trish and we didn't have Tiffany versus Nia again. So yeah, I was pleased with that.
I agree. All right, and I think it was Jade versus Naomi, or it was the Battle Royal, something like that.
I believe it was Jade and Naomi, and then the Battle Royal was the kind of the second, and then obviously Io versus Rhea was the main event. But Jade versus Naomi was carnage. It was everything you expected it to be. Credit to Bianca Belair. I thought her acting was great in this match. That kind of, is she going to pick a side? Is she going to side with Jade? Is she going to, like, that was another element that I thought added into the storyline. Um, I thought Jade did really well. I still think she's maybe a bit green in places. And this is where Naomi's experience definitely came in handy. Naomi for me was an MVP of the night. But yeah, it was a great match. It did what it needed to do. We finally got that payoff and that kind of, Jade's now gone, right. I've done what I've needed to do. I've beat you. Like, you couldn't get up. No holds barred. I've done what I had to do. The monkey's off my back to try and that now officially separates Jade and kind of pushes her forward. And obviously she's got a title opportunity uh, at SummerSlam, so this will be interesting.
Yeah, that's a big opportunity there against Tiffany. I don't know. I'm still kind of on the fence on if she wins or not at SummerSlam.
Yeah, this is. I feel like they want to strap the rocket to Jade and really elevate her, but I also think maybe they've kind of took her out the tag team with Bianca a bit too quick. I think she's still kind of getting shaped and molded, but with the kind of name that she had in AEW, I don't feel like WWE would have been able to put her on on NXT. She had to be on main roster because she would draw a lot of attention. Um, so I think it just kind of depends on how they plan out. It could be that they have the match and she loses for shenanigans. You could maybe have Naomi causing it. You could maybe have the Bianca heel turn that everybody's kind of been discussing. So there's so many variables into that. So it just depends on how long they want to keep the title on Tiffany. Um, and kind of the other storylines that kind of outlays that match as well.
Yeah, and that's funny because people thought at SummerSlam it'll be Jade versus Tiffany. Jade's gonna beat Tiffany, and then Naomi's gonna cash in. But that was just too predictable.
I kinda like that they did circumvent that a wee bit and they didn't just go with the kinda expected storyline. I actually really enjoyed that. So I actually kinda appreciate the fact that they've gave Trish her flowers in that sense and allowed Trish a good match. And gave Tiffany a rub, but also still kinda you had the finale of the Jade versus Naomi storyline.
Yeah, just a great storyline overall there.
For sure. Sure, sure. Sorry, I've glanced in the background.
And like you said, I did like the addition of Bianca as the guest ref. That was good.
It added into the storyline because she was caught in the middle. And it's like Jade won't return her calls, but she won't return Naomi's calls. And it's like, where does she fall in that, in the mindset? Because these were the two people that were our best friends. She trusted in the most, and she's now caught in the middle of something she didn't want to be in the middle in the first place. And we were all kind of wondering, is this the heel turn? Because I do love Bianca, but I do, wonder if that heel turn is going to come, because I think maybe she needs it. She's still getting great reactions, but heel Bianca in NXT was ridiculously good, and I think it would be really interesting to see what that would look like on the main roster. Potentially, maybe I go back into a tag team with Naomi. That could be an option.
Yeah, it was just a good way to keep her included, even with the hand injury.
Yep, I think that brilliant, and it is just unfortunate that she's suffered that injury, and she's talked about potential surgery. So hopefully it's not too serious and she doesn't require surgery and she's back soon.
Hopefully, because I feel like there's still kind of some unfinished business there with Jade and Bianca.
Oh, for sure, absolutely. Um, you could have it that Jade does win the title, and that leads to Bianca becoming number one contender, and then Bianca just snaps. Maybe she doesn't meet her the first time, and she's frustrated, and that's when she snaps, and that's when the heel turn happens.
I could see that happening there, but I could kind of see them kind of saving this for Mania 42 in Vegas because they didn't get to do it at 41.
That would be interesting. Be very interesting.
All right, so look at the Battle Royale. I'm willing to admit this kind of started off a bit of a mess.
Say that again. Sorry.
Mm, It kind of started off as a bit of a mess, like
Yes.
it just flow right in the beginning.
Yeah, and then after before it was weird they had the entrances during adverts, because I don't get the advertisements that you do in the US. Um, so I remember I was like putting in the chat every entrant that came out, so you kind of know who was in. Um, yeah, it was a good battle royal overall. I really enjoyed it. I actually thought Nikki Bella was going to win it. To be honest, I'm actually really really glad it was Stephanie Vaquer. I think she deserves it. Um, I won't say who she's going to face because spoilers will come to that after we spoke about the main event, I guess. But no, it was a great battle royal. It was actually really good to see them use more of the NXT people. Obviously it's always good to see legends, but I think with a time limit on a pay per view rather than a Royal Rumble, having given the NXT people a kind of spotlight to show what they can do, maybe draw eyes to the product, have people watch NXT, I think really really helps. Um, because I thought they all did an excellent job. Um, I was getting frustrated. I remember putting in the chat, "Why are you all just leaving Nia?" Why, like that just bugged the life at me. They were just leaving Nia. Why not just? Wrestling. You need to kind of suspend disbelief, I guess. But no, overall a good match again. A nice way to kind of slow down after the carnage of Jade versus Naomi. But no, really really good. Really enjoyed it.
Yep, absolutely. I think Lash Legend also had a really good showing in the Battle Royale too.
Oh, for sure, absolutely. I think she did. Again, poor Candice LeRae getting called Candice Michelle. She was not getting away for that from Michael Cole at all whatsoever during that match. No, a good showing for everybody. Nikki Bella, I think's, considering how long she's been away from the ring, she looks really good. Looks really, really good, really strong. And you've got people like Stephanie Vaquer. Just honestly, overall, just a really good match. I see.
Absolutely. All right, now we get to that main event. Io versus Rhea. Boy, people didn't want this in the beginning, but it turned
It,
out to be possibly one of the matches of the year.
it's an instant classic. Right, so we can spoil a warning that no one actually won this match. Naomi cashed in to become women's world title. No one seen this coming because everybody thought for sure, right, she's got to wait till it's Jade and cash in on Jade, and she didn't. So that was a shock as it was. But before even the cash in, that match was an instant classic. The ref bump, which had Jessica Card down, and they were out in the concourse, and was jumping for crates, and it was just an incredible match from start to finish, even like before the cash in. And I think the cash in just added to it because it was just complete shock because this was a story of Rhea really needs to beat Io. She's never done it, so this is you know a potential kind of anti-hero moment for Rhea. The storyline telling that way, you could tell she was getting frustrated, she couldn't put her away. So there was so many elements of that storytelling. He was like, I don't need to face you, but I'm just going to give you what you want. But I know I can beat you. And I thought it was really interesting. I think it was, what's his name? Wade Barrett on commentary, kind of going, I think Io picked
Yeah, like her.
Rhea because she knows that she can beat her. And I thought that was a kind of really interesting element to put in there, that was that the reason for it? Is that why Eel picked up? Because it was like, well, I know I can beat you, so if I pick you, I know I'm going to keep my title. And then all of a sudden, here comes Naomi and completely scuppers her plans. I thought that was a really interesting element to add into it as well.
I agree with that. And it was crazy how they start brawling on the outside when it's not a no disqualification match and the ref's just knocked out in the middle of the ring. Like, what just happened here?
See, I don't know if it for me maybe went on a bit too long in terms of how long a person could feasibly be knocked out. Again, you kind of need to suspect and do your disbelief a little bit. But no, credit to Jessica Carr. She sold it really, really well. And as I said, the match was a classic, an instant classic. Just really great technical wrestling, really good storytelling again in terms of Rhea's frustration at not being able to beat Io. But yeah, I think that for me was match of the night. Despite obviously like out with the cash in elevated, but for me that was match of the night.
Hmm, I agree, because it was just great from start to finish. You got the best of Rhea, the best of Io, and it's crazy that they faced off in the semifinals of the Mae Young Classic all those years ago, and now they're main eventing the second ever Evolution.
It's definitely a full circle moment, and again I think it's credit to all of the women on the card that they got this groundbreaking PLE, and they were given this really, really shoddy build up, kind of doomed to the start, doomed to fail type thing, and they just went, no, and just every one of them showed up and showed how good they were and why they deserve to have a full pay per view PLA for them. Um, I know we discussed this, but this is something you could do every 2 or 3 years when you've got new recruits for NXT coming through, new wrestlers to make new stars. That you could have this kind of event showcasing the evolution of women's wrestling. And I think having just NXT wrestlers and main roster wrestlers used, no legends apart from Trish, to show the caliber and the talent that WWE currently have, was brilliant.
Yeah, I just like that because there was a good mix of stars of today, and you've got rising stars too, and that's exactly what you want with something like this.
Oh, for sure. And as I said, I think that's maybe why this is an event that should be happening every 2 or 3 years, to showcase the stars you have now, but the people of the future that's going to, be the focal point of the company in 10, 15 years.
Yeah, like overall, just amazing. I mean, like we said, just no one expected Naomi to cash in at Evolution.
No, definitely not. And I actually think what they've done is genius that way, because it's now separates Naomi and Jade. It gives Naomi a very well deserved title shot and like title reign, in my opinion. Um, and it just sets up interesting storylines going forward for what it means for kind of Io and for Rhea. And I'm really looking forward to their triple threat match at SummerSlam and the shenanigans that could happen with that as well. So, as I said, I don't think the pay per view had the right to be as good as it was, considering the mess of the build up. But for me, it's the PLA of the year, bar none. I don't think anything can top that, because when you look at that compared to Saturday night's main event, that was a mess. and then the women were just like, right, we'll do the job for these guys. Hold my beer.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely probably my favorite event of the year so far.
Yeah, for sure. As I said, it was a great card. They had bare bones to work with. Uh, the way the match card played out was smart. The opener and the main event were my two favourite matches, but I just again not a bad match in the card in my opinion.
I don't know, like it just got better from start to finish and just progressed so amazingly well.
I would agree with that for sure.
Hmm. Well, now we look forward to SummerSlam, and you've got okay, it's a triple threat, right, between Rhea, Io, and Naomi.
Yes. So this is where it gets interesting. Because of the heel turn, but you've still got the kind of the Jade Tiffany. Does Bianca feature in that as well? So that I think there's so many variables. My favourite and the one I'm looking forward to will be Lyra versus Becky. I just want to see what happens with that in terms of Bailey and the storytelling with that, especially due to the fact they've got a tag team. Bailey and Lyra have got a tag team title opportunity in Raw that kind of came from nowhere. So I want to see how that fits into the storyline as well.
Yep, the old can they coexist storyline.
But I think this time it's kind of warranted. It kind of makes sense. This can they coexist because there is genuine animosity there because of the kind of shenanigans that's been happening, from WrestleMania and from that IC title match, and Lyra accidentally costing Bailey the match and things like that. So there is, lots of variables to add into that. It's not just one of the ones we're going to have you challenge for the title, but you're going to be in a tag match. A general, this is animosity. They generally do not like each other right now because of what's happened, and I think that could play a part in what happens at SummerSlam.
Hmm. Yep, and you got Becky Lynch kind of sitting there laughing at everything that's going on, considering she's kind of the cause of it in some ways.
That's the thing. She absolutely is the cause, and I don't think she cares. She's just living her best life, watching they two just let them fight it out. She's in the background with popcorn, like, "Yep, I'm still your IC champ. You could do whatever you like. I'll just stand here with my title and let you have at it." And I think it's brilliant. I think heel Becky. This is some of my best heel work for sure.
Yep, absolutely. And you got Charlotte and Alexa challenging for the tag titles.
That's an interesting one, especially if Bailey and Lyra do win the tag titles. Lyra now has a title to defend and an opportunity at another title. So does that mean if they win the tag titles that, you know, and they retain that Bailey comes out with Lyra against Becky, and then does that cause a friction? And there's just so much to look into that. But I'm actually really excited because I think they should put the titles on uh, Alexa and Charlotte. I think it's a really interesting tag team. They've got a really interesting dynamic. And again, it is weird to see the two of them as a face tandem, but it works. And I'm actually really enjoying their stuff.
They are, like, you can just tell how much fun Charlotte's having wrestling again.
Yeah, you can see it. There's joy in her face again. I think what happened at Evolution is a testament to that. How people were really wanting her involved, and this is the reaction she got when she eventually came into the match, and you could see in her face how much it meant to her. And I think it's a testament to Charlotte and her professionalism and the fact that she's persevered, and it's paying off because she's seen the fruits of her labour. And um, I think it's nice to see her in a title picture that's not a main title, if that makes sense. She's still getting the championship reigns, but it's letting others like Naomi, like Tiffany have the titles, but you're still showcasing one of the best women's wrestlers. She's so athletic, she's so powerful. Um, and I do think she's missed when she's not there.
Mm, I agree with that. It's like you almost wonder when Charlotte and Asuka were a tag team, what would that have been like if there were actually fans for that?
That would have been real. I would have loved that. I think that was an odd couple tag team, but it just worked so well. Um, And I think Asuka can create chemistry with anybody because she's just that good. But I would really like to see Asuka, the Kabuki Warriors versus Alexa and Charlotte in a one-on-one match. I think that would be really, really interesting.
Mm, I am absolutely down for that. That would be great to do that.
Just because the Kabuki Warriors just work so well, and as I said, this is a new kind of a new tag team, and it's going to be interesting. I think if Alex and Charlotte do win the tag titles, they for me should be the first title defenses of Kabuki Warriors.
Mm, but then there's kind of that element there of how long are they going to carry this, considering you've got Liv out for at least 6 months, and you know she's going to come back pissed as can be at Roxanne.
Yeah, so I think this kind of also kind of impacts the Judgment Day in that term as well. It's like I was out for 6 months and you took my spot and you lost my titles that we won literally right after we lost them. What the fuck are you doing letting her in? You's let her in here and she's lost my titles. And I think that'll be interesting in terms of potential the breakup of the Judgment Day. Because I still think there's going to be shenanigans in terms of Finn with Dom, and having people on, kind of try to get people on side and have Finn take the title off Dom, where that'll go. Um, because Dom is so over right now, it's unreal. He's trying so hard to be a bad guy, and it's sort of like that with what happened with Becky. Nobody's buying it; they're just completely on Dom's side. So I think it would be interesting to see if maybe Liv and Dom leave the Judgment Day, or Roxanne tries to kind of worm her way in, or kind of what happens with that. That'll be interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of like last year when Rhea takes Liv out, Liv comes back, wins the Women's World Championship from Becky, then Rhea comes back. Then you got that match at SummerSlam and all the craziness there with Dom betraying Rhea and Dom and Liv becoming a thing.
Yep. So I mean, it would be crap if they tried basically done the same storyline twice. But I think having and make sure Raquel takes the pin. I think that's the important thing. It has to be not Raquel, sorry, Roxanne take the pin because then it cements to Liv. No, you were supposed to. You've took my spot, and it was you. You took the pin, Roxanne. You lost my title, and I think that's the imperative thing. It has to be Roxanne that takes the pin if they do lose the tag titles, purely from a kind of storyline standpoint and what that does going forward.
You kind of wonder though, do you see Liv and Rhea form a temporary alliance there with what's going on with the Judgment Day?
I would love for Fatality to come back as a tag team because I loved them the first time round. I know a lot of people did as well, but that would be an interesting dichotomy just purely because of the complete history that's between them now. Um, and that is a very much a bigger could they coexist because there is that pure hatred for each other, but there is also that the enemy of my enemy is my friend type deal. And I think that could come into play as well.
Yeah, a good example of that would be with Charlotte and Becky on Raw late in 2019 and the Kabuki Warriors just coming after them.
Exactly, that's exactly what that would be like. It's like Becky and Charlotte hated each other, but they knew that they had to take care of Asuka and Kyrie, otherwise they were getting nowhere. And I think that is a brilliant example.
Yeah, it'll just be interesting to see how everything really unfolds.
We'll definitely need to kind of see how SummerSlam shakes up and come back and discuss because there's so many variables and there's so much that could happen afterwards and the kind of how the storyline plays out. So I'm looking forward to SummerSlam to see what happens, and we'll be back to discuss that because it's no doubt going to cause havoc on the storylines and what's going to go forward with our women's division.
Yep, and we get 2 nights this year for the first time ever.
See, I love having the Saturday night main events, but see, having a Sunday, like I remember WrestleMania 35. I went to the pub to watch it. I got to the pub at 8 o'clock at night and I didn't get home till 6 o'clock the next morning because it was just on for so long. And having it on it a Monday morning is just absolute carnage.
Yeah, you mentioned how WrestleMania 35 was in New York, New Jersey at MetLife Stadium. they're doing the first two nights SummerSlam at the same place where people complained about how long WrestleMania was.
I did not know it was the same place. I can't believe that was a complete accident mentioning that. But yeah, I mean, I feel like WrestleMania makes sense to be 2 nights. It's the focal point. It's the biggest event of the year. Having 2 nights of WrestleMania to me makes complete sense. I feel like going forward, it might be a case of this is now how they do the big four. Your SummerSlam, Survivor Series, Royal Rumble, and Mania will be 2 nights, which I don't think you need. Mania to me makes sense, but SummerSlam doesn't need to be 2 nights. I don't think the Rumble needs to be 2 nights, and I don't think Survivor Series needs to be 2 nights.
I would say Survivor Series definitely should not be two nights, because it's too much. Plus, it's meant to be brand warfare, and that's what we
See,
want to see this year.
a big issue with that is because they have the addition of the War Games into the traditional Survivor Series matches now. Like, they don't have just normal tag teams. They have to have this kind of War Games element, which is great fun, but it's elongating the time of the pay-per-views as well, which really doesn't help.
No, no, it does not.
So again, Mania perfectly acceptable. It's the kind of big event, the main event of the year. Understand that, but anything beyond Mania, I just think it's money they're wanting. And when they're completely trying to price out fans as it is with the ticket prices, having two events is to me ludicrous.
Yeah, like you could try doing two nights for another event, but I just don't think it would work well like it would with the SummerSlam or WrestleMania.
No, I think it's silly, and again, it's ticket prices. They're overcharging for events now. Like when I went to when my mum bought me a ticket to SmackDown in 2016, she was £45 for a ticket. I was seated in relatively similar seats at the Raw in March, and I was £300 for two tickets, which just goes to show the disparaging price difference. And they're going to charge fans for this, and they're going to do it for 2 nights. And then they've got the cheap to fire wrestlers talk about budget cuts, but you're overpricing tickets. How can you justify budget cuts when you're charging this much money for a ticket? I just don't understand the thought process.
Mm. Right, like it doesn't make sense. You make all these roster cuts when tickets are this much. It just
I don't.
what are we doing here?
Yeah, it's stupid, but that's just me.
I guarantee it's not just you. Alright, so let's kind of wrap things up here with one more question. Do you think there should be another evolution?
Yes, as I said earlier, I really like the idea of not having it every year, but every 2 or 3 years. Again, just to showcase the talent that WWE have. Again, I think it worked really well with the fact that they used, you know, talent from main roster and from NXT, gave the NXT women a chance to shine, show what they can do. Again, draw eyes to that product, maybe get more fans in. Um, and again, it just shows the evolution of women's wrestling, because you can see the difference from the evolution in 2018 to now, and I'm sure there'll be another evolution coming, in the next 2 or 3 years. So again, it doesn't have to be every year, but I think every 2 or 3 years would be a really good idea.
Mm, see, I agree with that because you've got to let the division kind of evolve, and that's kind of what we saw going from 2018 to 2025.
I would agree with that. You can still had, your people for 2018s like your Nikki Belletts and your Charlottes and your Beckys, but you also allowed other people like your Zarias, like your Sol Rukas, your Last Legends, your Tiffany's, that opportunity to shine as well. And I think that's important.
I agree with that. Anyways, Rhiannon, I appreciate you for spending time here on the show,
Thank you for
and
having me.
honestly, guys, you're probably going to see more Rhiannon in the future because, like I said, she's my co-host. I couldn't do What's the Tea without my good friend and my Scottish sister, Rhiannon.
Thank you so much, Sean.
Hey, of course, when I first started this, it's just one day I wanted to be able to hire my friends and be able to do it with them because that's what I love about creating in a lot of ways.
No, you're stuck with me.
Mm, well, I think that's about all the time and all the tea we have here for What's the Tea. I've been your host at Owen the Man 316 and head chef. That is my sous chef and co-host, Rhiannon. So excited to have her on for the first time. And yeah, I hope you guys really enjoy this one. But as always, before we go, peace, love, tea, of course, rock and roll, and of course, pro wrestling, and always support women's wrestling so that we get more events like this.
Sure.
Thank you guys so much. She has been Rhiannon, I've been Owen. Peace, we're out, toodles.